India. India and China are moving to rebuild ties after years of tension following the 2020 border clash. During talks in New Delhi, Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi assured National Security Advisor Ajit Doval that Beijing would address India's needs for fertilizers, rare earths, and tunnel boring machines. Both sides stressed peace along the frontier and said bilateral engagement has grown more substantial. Wang will also meet Prime Minister Narendra Modi ahead of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization summit in China. Despite the positive signals, trade frictions remain. Rare earth magnet exports to India were still down nearly 60% from January levels, even as Beijing promised greater cooperation. Let's listen into what National Security Advisor of India Ajit Doval and Chinese Foreign Ministry Wang Yi had to say.
Xizang Autonomous Region. We should develop confidence to dispel interference, expand cooperation, and to further consolidate the momentum of improvement and development of China-India relations so that while pursuing our respective rejuvenation, we can contribute to each other's success and provide the most needed certainty and stability to Asia.
The 5th year of our diplomatic relations, and it's a time to celebrate. And we find that with this new energy and the new momentum, that it is this thing with your personal efforts and with the maturity and the sense of responsibility of our diplomatic teams and our missions in the countries, your ambassador here, and also our armies on the borders, we have been able to make this thing.
Now for this discussion, we're joined by William Yang. He's a China analyst, joins us live from Taipei. Thank you, William, for joining us. Welcome to NewsX World. Now, given the ongoing trade frictions, including significant drop in rare earth magnet exports, how do you think how sustainable is the current thaw in India-China relations?
I think the current thaw needs to be viewed as mostly China seeing an opportunity to try to weaken the partnership between India and the US and present itself as a willing partner to address some of India's concerns and also improving ties in certain areas. And I think as we can see, the promise of exporting certain items to India is probably used by China as a leverage to make sure that it keeps India on the track of hoping to further improve relations with Beijing by providing some, I think, benefits. But at the same time, China is not completely giving out all the leverages that it has right away. I think this should be viewed as Beijing's very careful calculation when it comes to New Delhi's approach to try to amend the strained relations since earlier this year. Because I think while India is sending signals that it is interested in improving ties with China, there are still fundamental frictions that both sides are trying to address. And so I think in the Chinese perspective, they are showing some good will by sending both the Foreign Minister Wang Yi to visit India this week and also promising to lift some of the export controls on certain items that India desperately needs. But at the same time, it still holds control over other critical items that India will need further down the road. And it is probably going to use that control as, again, a leverage to make sure that it can keep a distance between India and the US, and at the same time ensuring that India wants to get more of these exports to be lifted, the export controls to be lifted, so that, I think this is China's strategy, and it believes that it has the upper hand in this current dynamic.
Yes, William, and with both countries, like you said, emphasizing economic collaboration, but what challenges might arise or are still there in balancing their economic interests with ongoing strategic rivalries?
So, I think one of the most important rivalry that is going to remain in the bilateral relationship going forward is both countries' strategic ambition in the Indo-Pacific region, especially in the Indian Ocean area, because that is the region where India has long viewed as its own backyard and a very important part of its global influence. But in recent years, China has been able to improve relations with certain countries in that part of the world, and that has really raised concerns for India. So how does India and China actually address the overlapping ambition in that part of the world? I think it's going to be very difficult. And so that friction will remain in as a big part of the dynamic in the relationship. So I think both sides are now making very incremental progress when it comes to improving relations in certain areas that they already either have made progress, like the border dispute that has started the process of thawing and improving relations since last year, and at the same time, China offering some, benefits to India in sectors that India desperately needs its support. And so I think we are going to see this very delicate diplomatic dance continuing going forward. We are not going to see a dramatic improvement in relations immediately.
Yes, and William, now what impact could China and India's renewed focus on this mutual respect and partnership have on regional stability in Asia overall?
I think this might, in fact, bring some sigh of relief, especially in the Indian-China border area, because we know that that has been the been the front that both sides have really had fierce clash and also confrontation in recent years. And at the same time, perhaps China sees a window of opportunity to weaken the U.S. alliance in the Indo-Pacific region to try to contain China's rise and expansion, because India is part of the Quad and it has it is also the host country in the upcoming meeting that's supposed to take place later this year. So if China can in fact continue to take advantage of the deterioration of relations between the US and India to weaken the US coordination with its allies to try to compete with China in both the maritime domain, but also in other areas in the Indo-Pacific region, that will be viewed as an important goal for China to achieve or to try to continue to keep at the top of its agenda when it comes to managing its relationship with India.
Thank you very much, Wang Yi. William Wang, for